talking away.
In the decaying underbelly of Seattle's quarantine ruins, buried beneath the forgotten remnants of a once bustling hospital, lies one of the most grotesque horrors in the entire The Last of Us universe, the Rat King. Officially encountered by Abby in The Last of Us Part 2, this abomination isn't just another infected. No, this towering fusion of fungal monstrosities is something else entirely. Something older, something deliberately made, a failed experiment born of desperation, secrecy, and science gone horribly wrong. But what if I told you this rat king wasn't just the product of nature's evolving? What if this wasn't a random fluke of the Cordyceps infection? What if the rat king was actually the result of twisted experimentation by either rogue Firefly scientists or the militarized WLF attempting to weaponize the infected? Now, let's start with what we know. The Rat King is a terrifying amalgamation of several infected, including Stalkers, Clickers, and a Bloater, all fused into one hawking mass. It encountered deep in the sublevels of the Seattle hospital, in an area sealed off since the early days of the outbreak. We are talking ground zero. This is where infected were first isolated, studied, and if our theory is correct, experimented on. Its grotesque body features distinct, recognizable parts of different infected fused into one another like conjoined twins mutated by the fungus itself. As you fight the creature, part of it break away, forming separate infected like Stalkers. It's like a hive, not just a host. That's not evolution, that is engineering. Now, we know from The Last of Us Part 1 that the Fireflies were not just freedom fighters. They were scientists, researchers, and in some cases, radicals. After Joel's massacre at St. Mary's Hospital, the group scattered, but many Firefly operatives fled to various zones, Seattle included. Now, imagine this. Rogue Fireflies cut off from leadership, driven by the loss of their supposed miracle cure, which is Ellie, decide to take a darker path. If they can't cure Cordyceps, maybe they can control it. What better way to weaponize the infection than to fuse infected forms into one hyper-adapted killing machine? They had the knowledge, they had the motive, and in the chaos of early quarantine, they had access to bodies both living and dead. Clues in the game suggest that the lower levels of the hospital were converted into a pseudo-research site and makeshift quarantine cells. Operating tables, biohazard warnings, things normal outbreak response teams wouldn't have used. But scientists and Fireflies with nowhere else to go, it absolutely makes sense. They were creating something, and the Rat King may have been their prototype. Alternatively, or perhaps concurrently, the Washington Liberation Front, which is WLF, which is Seattle's militarized faction, may have stumbled onto this horror and decided to keep it sealed rather than confront the truth. The WLF took over the hospital after driving out Fedra, and yet they deliberately left the lower levels sealed off. They knew what was down there. Abby is explicitly warned not to go into the sublevels even during emergency. This raises questions. Why leave an area so dangerous untouched? Why not clear it out with firepower or collapse it? The answer is simple. They were hiding something. Now it is either the WLF inherited this biological nightmare and covered it up to avoid public backlash, or they actively contributed to its creation, possibly co-opting early Firefly experiments and continuing them in secret. This wasn't just a secret, it was a military bioweapon gone wrong. Now, let's dig into a few in-game details that support this theory. 1. The game's lore places the creation of the rat king in the early days of the outbreak. That means it's been down there gestating for over 25 years. No other infected lasts that long. Why did it? Perhaps it was sustained deliberately or enhanced through experimentation. 2. In the Sublevels, we see medical equipment, restraint system, and signs of experimentation. Abby finds corpses with notes hinting at early failed containment and desperate, unethical decisions. 3. Unlike most infected, the rat king displays a shocking level of awareness. It stalks, predicts, and adapts. And when parts of it break off, they act like sentient extensions. That's not random infection. That is coordinated evolution, possibly engineered. Now 4. Ratkin isn't just a nickname. In folklore, a ratkin is a terrifying cluster of rats whose tails are entangled, living and moving as one grotesque organism. It's a metaphor for disease, decay, and something unnaturally bound together. The developers didn't choose that name by accident, they are telling us something. If this theory holds true, the Rat King isn't just a boss fight, it's a warning. A glimpse into how far people, especially Fireflies or WLF, were willing to go when society collapsed. It adds a chilling new layer to the story of The Last of Us, where humans become monsters not just in action but also in science. This theory redefines the Rat King from a freak of nature to a Frankenstein's monster, a failed attempt to cheat evolution, or worse, to master it. And perhaps the scariest part of it is, if the Rat King was only the prototype, what else might be out there? So, in conclusion, the Rat King is more than a grotesque spectacle. It's the smoking gun of a long-buried conspiracy, a military experiment, a scientific abomination, or both. Whether born from the Firefly's desperation or the WLF's militaristic goals, the truth remains hidden in the shadows of Seattle's darkest corners. What began as an effort to control infection may have created the ultimate uncontrollable monster. The Rat King wasn't meant to live, but it did, and it proves one thing: in the world of The Last of Us, the real monsters are often the ones still breathing. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell for more deep lore dives. My name is wasticSON, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.